Today's episode is brought to you by Microsoft, who is committed to helping physicians reclaim their work-life balance and restore the joy of practicing medicine. Discover DAX Copilot, your AI assistant for automated clinical documentation and workflows. To learn more about how DAX Copilot can help improve healthcare experiences for both you and your patients, visit aka.ms/knock-knock-hi. Again, that's aka.ms, like Microsoft, /knock-knock-hi.
Knock, knock, hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knock Knock Eye with Dr. Glockenflecken. That's me. This is your one-stop shop for all things eyeballs, where I just get to talk about eyeball stuff and really whatever else I want to talk about. And I hope you had a wonderful day. I'm recording this the night before my next surgery day. I always have surgeries, typically on Wednesdays. So I'm recording this on Tuesday night. Typically, I record after. Because, I don't know, it feels like once I get past my surgery day Wednesday, then I feel like home free, like for the rest, because I at this point in my career, I've been doing surgery now as a practicing ophthalmologist for almost a little over 8 years. I don't exactly get nervous. Occasionally I will if it's a particularly tough case. I'm going to talk about a couple of interesting surgical cases that I had a little bit later. But I don't, for like a run-of-the-mill surgery day where there's nothing unusual, I'm really not that nervous, but there's still like a weight kind of hanging over the week up until I get to Wednesday, and then I walk out of the operating room and I just feel more relaxed for the rest of the week. I know I'm making it sound like I'm nervous for my surgery day, but it's like a healthy amount of nerves. It's like I feel a bit amped up, and then I can just relax. I can just relax a little bit more. So anyway, I'm still kind of in the amped up phase right here, even though my surgery day tomorrow, knock on wood, it's a normal day. Nothing unusual is I'm not planning anything unusual. Knock on wood, because I am I practice evidence-based medicine, but I still believe in superstition. I would love to do an episode about. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. This is actually. See, I'm so glad we're talking. I say that as if you all can talk back to me, but sometimes I get ideas just saying words. And one idea I just had was I'm going to try to accumulate as many of the weird superstitions that physicians have, because there's a ton of them. Like I have some. There are only certain socks that I will wear on surgery days. I'm not going to explain why, because I have no explanation. It's just the way it is. There's no reason for that, and we're all like, oh, we have to follow the evidence, and then we do stuff like that. It doesn't make any sense. I would be fascinated to learn the science behind like following superstitions, if there is science behind it, or just hear what superstitions you all have. But the reason I wanted to record today instead of my usual day tomorrow is because I've got some thoughts that I wanted to get off right here at the beginning. I've been thinking about it and I just wanted to record. So it's about this UnitedHealthcare thing. What an insane just news cycle this has been. As of this recording, we're now in the guy's been arrested. And then of course, you go on any social media platform and there's like conspiracies. Did he write the manifesto? Is that actually him in this photo? Look, this photo, he has a unibrow, but this one he doesn't have. It's like you can't keep up with all this stuff. And it's none of this is like, it's like, JFK, the JFK assassination, right? You're just for things like this that capture the nation's attention, you're going to have all kinds of theories thrown out there. But one thing that is for certain is that the insurance companies are fighting back. So here's what happens. This is so classic. And for those of us who have been following stories about health insurance and their policies and then the response to those policies and then what happens after them. You've seen this time and time again. Now it's just on a much bigger scale because obviously the shooting just exploded the nation's attention around UnitedHealthcare and just health insurance in general. So what's happening now, because there was this big uproar about, wow, look at all the terrible things, and I contributed to this because I've made videos about look at all the terrible things UnitedHealthcare is doing. I've been doing that for years, but even in the past week. And so there's been a lot more negative publicity surrounding UnitedHealthcare over the past week. And so what the health insurance companies end up doing is they just, and this is going to sound like conspiracy theory-ish, but I know they have like accounts, they have people that just start kind of diverting blame to other areas of healthcare. And maybe it's not like instigated by the health insurance companies. Maybe it's just like business bros who want to, for some reason, defend corporations, billion-dollar corporations, vertically integrated billion-dollar corporations that cause the death of small businesses. Maybe they just really like those entities and they want to support them in any way they can. I don't know why people support health insurance companies. I'll never understand why, but they're out there and they are currently doing it. But it's what we're hearing from these accounts. And yeah, I've seen a lot of it on X. I mean, of course it's going to be X, right? But, even some other things elsewhere, Facebook and Instagram. It's the playbook's always the same. It's not, health insurance companies. They're not. It's not all them. It's other people too. Look at X. Look at this. Look at that. And usually it's look at physicians. Look at the greedy doctors. Look at how much money they make. Look at a plastic surgeon made $700,000. What are we going to do about that? This is what they do. This is what health insurance companies do. They put it out there, maybe not blatantly like that, but that's the ultimate. We need prior authorizations because we have to protect the public from the greedy doctors. This is what they do. And it's bullshit. It is. It's stupid. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons that this is nonsense. But before I get to those, I know doctors, don't feel bad for our salaries or how much money we're doing fine. The question here is it physician compensation that's causing healthcare to be like it is? How much are we to blame just from a how much money we make standpoint? Because that's the argument, is that our greed is causing health insurance companies to have to do all these things. We make plenty of money. I make plenty of money. Doctors, we're doing great. But that argument is nonsense. All right, so you don't have to feel sorry for us, but my goal here is just to show you, and these are very simple things that I'm going to tell you that probably many of you already know. All right, the first is that when you take the whole pie of healthcare expenditure in the U.S., 7 to 8% roughly is the amount that's spent on physician compensation. 7 to 8%, barely a dent. You could stop paying physicians, fire them all, and will still be the most expensive healthcare system in the world, by far. So that honestly tells you right there that that's not the problem. How much money we make is not the problem. And then you have a lot of people, this is what I've been seeing a lot of in the last few days, comparing, well, doctors make this much money. Look at how much European doctors make. They don't make nearly as much. Why are we paying you guys all this money? Two things about that. First, we do work more days. We work a lot of hours. All right. Now, like ophthalmologists, okay, like we could quibble about that. But even there are some years I do work a lot of hours. Okay. Dermatologists, maybe not them, but others work a lot more hours. Not just, and I think that the lesson there is not that like European doctors are lazy or anything. It's that they just have better work-life balance. They will take a month off, like in the summer. Like I ask any doctor, when's the last time you took a month off from seeing patients? Like our culture is that we will kill ourselves working. So that's one thing that will result in higher compensation, but also it's our compensation, in my opinion, and in the mind of physicians, every physician in the U.S., it's inextricably linked. Is that the right word? I think it is. Inextricably linked to education. The cost of education is exorbitantly high for medical education. You have the average debt per med student is in the 200,000 range. Mine was 315. That's what it ended up getting to before I was able to start paying it down at the age of 32, by the way. So we're getting a late start to our income building, our trying to get a financial foothold. Like we're starting later than everyone else. And we're starting in a lot more debt than other people. And so you can't just say, well, let's just slash physician compensation. Let's just make them paid as much as European doctors. Okay, well, what are you going to do with education? Because the minute you do that, but you don't do anything about medical education, people will stop going into medicine. Because who in their right mind would go into $300,000, $400,000 in debt without the promise that they're going to be able to pay that back? Not going to happen. You're going to have a worse physician shortage than we have now. So I hate that argument that, European doctors, they don't need to make as much as you guys are making. Take a pay cut. Why? We're 7-8% of overall healthcare expenditure. It just doesn't make sense. There's no good argument for that. And then the third reason is that physicians, who the biggest employer of physicians is right now in the U.S.? UnitedHealthcare. UnitedHealthcare is the largest employer of physicians. So you want to blame someone for healthcare? Are you going to blame the physicians who are employed? Or are you going to blame the employer of physicians, which more often than not is UnitedHealthcare? Like, come on, it doesn't take a business genius to figure out where the problem is in our healthcare system. You look at where the money is. And it's not with us. You look at the whole pie. Anyway, you can tell I'm irritated because this comes up every so often. And you got people talking about it that have no idea, don't know how physicians get paid. They think that we're all in private practice and we're just we're charging whatever the hell we want and getting however much money we want, that we're gouging patients. No, most of us are employed. And we're employed by organizations that are gouging us and not taking care of us. And by the way, Medicare is every year cutting our reimbursement. So we are getting our salaries slashed, and we just have to make it up for it by working more. And then people are getting burned out. And by the way, as every year our reimbursement goes down, hospital reimbursement goes up higher than inflation. So there's another problem. Anyway, the takeaway, I think it's so complex that you can't. There's a lot of blame to go around, but don't believe anybody that just says that points it directly at physicians. Because honestly, if you think about it, like, who better to pay in the healthcare system than people who actually take care of patients? Like, isn't that where money should go to? That the people that are doing the work of healthcare? I'm not arguing that we should get paid more. Like I said, we're doing fine. But don't blame us for all the massive problems we have in the healthcare just because we make a higher salary compared to the average person. All right, let's take a break. Hey, Kristen, you just got disability insurance recently.
Well, I got it renewed, yeah.
How does it feel?
It feels pretty great.
Yeah, it's such an important thing.
It really is.
Like, especially for physicians, because
yeah.
I use
You
my
need
hands.
your hands.
I need my feet.
You need your feet.
Most
you
of my
need
hands.
your eyeballs.
Eyeballs too.
Yeah.
There's like literally everything. Like there's
Yeah.
so many things that could happen, and having that peace of mind of having disability insurance is really important. And so let me tell you about Pearson Ravitz.
Tell me.
This is a physician-founded company by Dr. Stephanie Pearson, a disabled OBGYN, and Scott Ravitz, a disability insurance expert. Now, they've come together and have helped more than 6,000 physicians get disability insurance.
That's pretty cool.
And just an advocate for physicians as well to
Yeah.
like help people not have this massive oversight of like thinking you don't need disability insurance because
Right.
you really do when you're a physician.
It's the kind of thing you got to buy when you're healthy for when you're not.
That's right. To find out more and get a free one-to-one consultation, go to PearsonRavitz.com/knock-knock. Again, that's www.pearsonravitz.com/knock-knock to get more information and protect your biggest investment, you. All right. I appreciate you guys sitting through listening. If you did, I always feel like some people are gonna hear me talk about that and like, I don't know, be like irritated that you got a 1%er here, complaining about that. I mean, again, I'm not complaining about that I should make more. It's just people are misunderstanding where the problems are in healthcare. But I talked about it enough. So, all right. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to talk surgery. So a big part of my job, here's my weekly schedule in case you're interested. So Monday, all day Monday. First of all, I work 4 days a week, full time for an ophthalmologist. Monday is my recording day, where we do interviews. I'll do skits. I'll have meetings with our production team and our just the Glock and Flecken team. Various things. And then Tuesday, all day clinic. Wednesday, surgery, post-ops. Thursday, all day clinic. Friday, all day clinic. And so on Wednesdays, I'll get started about 7:30 in the morning, and I'll do surgery until like noon or so, and then do like 11, 12 cases, and then go and do clinic, see post-ops in the afternoon. So I had a surgery day. That was it was an interesting day. So the night before and during my clinic, I had a post-op come in. He was about 2 weeks after his cataract surgery, and the cataract this patient had, which I had done a while back, was a white cataract. So sometimes a cataract is it can happen very quickly, actually. And usually the white cataracts do. So these are cataracts that you look at a person, you look at their pupil, and it looks white. You're like, that's a cataract. Like you see that a lot in animals. And when the cataracts get bad, it just looks white. That's a white cataract. And those can develop rather suddenly, like over the course of a year often. And they significantly reduce the vision very quickly. So those patients will end up in the ophthalmologist's office. And often their vision is either, I would say, hand motion. Again, that means that you put your hand, wave it in front of their face. They can barely see which direction your hand's moving. Or light perception, which is where all they can see is a bright light you shine right in front of their eye. That's all they can see. Can't see a hand, can't count fingers, none of that. Just light perception right in front of their eye. So that's what this patient had. He was a young man. like at 30s, I would say. And sometimes that happens. A lot of times people with diabetes or some other, like a metabolic disease can have a white cataract develop. I don't think we really know like why some of these patients develop these cataracts so quickly, but those are in some ways my favorite patients because there's nothing else wrong with their eye. They just have a cataract. You take it out. You do a 7-minute surgery. Take out that cataract. Put a lens in the eye that's perfect for them. And a week later, they're seeing 20/20. So that's what this patient was the night before my surgery day. On Tuesday, I say night. we don't work at night, you guys. You know what I mean. Afternoon, early afternoon. No, by the time the sun goes down, I'm tucked into bed. No, this patient came in for their post-op, went from light perception vision to 20/20 vision. Over the moon excited, which just like filled my soul. Just like those are the things that keep you coming back in practicing medicine. Those are like the huge wins. So I was riding high. Oh man, I'm the greatest surgeon on earth. Like it's just like, it feels so good to help someone like that go from blind to seeing perfect, after a 7-minute surgery. And then my surgery day came. The next day, I had another patient with a white cataract. This was a little bit different though. So this patient it wasn't just a white cataract, it was a little bit denser. And so the reason I say that is because this patient was had pretty severe diabetes, had lots of diabetic retinopathy. We've talked about that. So the reason that people with diabetes have to have eye exams is because the eye is the one place that we can look back into the back of the eye and we can visualize the bleeding, the damage to capillaries. We can see the capillaries damage. We can see the bleeding back there. We can see the abnormal blood vessels. And so this patient had a severe proliferative diabetic retinopathy, had laser treatments, injection treatments, and ended up having a vitrectomy to remove blood from the eye. So a lot of times patients with very severe diabetic retinopathy can be a little, because the eye is in an ischemic state when you have severe diabetes like that, right? You have loss of all these capillaries. They're not working well, so you're not getting as much blood flow as the back of the eye is supposed to get. So what happens? The body tries to make new blood vessels. You get neogenesis, you get neovascular proliferative changes to the back of the eye. So all these little wispy, but they're just not great blood vessels, right? They're just haphazard. They're like, it's like scaffolding on a building. It's like, it's not a real building. It's just, it's easy to fall apart. And because it depends on who you're getting your scaffolding from. But the point is, these fragile blood vessels are prone to bleeding. Sometimes if you have a big bleed, like what we call a vitreous hemorrhage, these are just bad hemorrhage in the back of the eye, it doesn't resolve on its own. And you have to have if it's a severe enough bleed, you have to have what's called a vitrectomy. So you go in, and when I say you, I mean retina specialists. I would never do this type of surgery. I'm not trained in it. You have to do a 2-year fellowship in retina surgery to do this type of surgery. So they take little trocars and they just put these big holes in the back of the eye, kind of on the equator on the eye, on the side of the eye. And then they're operating back there. They basically chop up all the vitreous. They cut it up. And the vitreous is just jelly. It's this type of jelly and all the blood. And then they take it out through a vacuum. And so they clean up the back of the eye. Take out all that vitreous, take out all that blood. And it went well. This patient's surgery went well. What happens though, after you get a vitrectomy, and this happens with everybody who gets a vitrectomy, very soon after that, a cataract starts to develop. It doesn't matter how old you are. This patient was in their probably, I think, early 40s. Had the vitrectomy, and pretty soon the cataract started. And you want to try to get that cataract out and taken care of relatively quickly. I would say within a year is probably a good idea. Because it will be within a year that cataract is visually significant, starts causing problems. So just get it out. Unfortunately, in this patient's case, for a variety of different reasons, the patient was not able to get their cataract surgery done. And so 7 years went by. 7 years. That cataract was getting worse and worse and denser and denser. And eventually, I saw this patient. And it's one of those cataracts you look at and you kind of take a deep breath because you know that this is a very severe cataract that's causing significant vision loss. And this patient was, hand motion, light perception, that level. But also, it's going to be a fairly difficult surgery. This is not a normal surgery because the denser, and I've talked about this recently, that's why you get cataract surgery before you're 90, everyone, because the denser the cataract gets, the harder the surgery becomes. And so I know there's going to be it's a dense cataract. It's going to take some effort to get this thing out. And one thing you're also a little bit nervous about, and I was in this case, the pupil did not dilate very well. Now there can be some reasons for that. The most common one in this case was that the patient had severe diabetes. When you have severe diabetes with severe changes to the eye, it can also affect how the pupil reacts because you have autonomic dysfunction, which can affect the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. That's why you get these autonomic like gastric emptying issues, and there's all kinds of stuff that can happen. Because with diabetes you have damage to small blood vessels. Well, small blood vessels they supply blood to every structure in the body, almost, and that's going to include nerves, and so you can get death of nerves. And so a lot of times patients with severe diabetes, they don't have a very well functioning pupil, and so they might not dilate very well. So this patient did not dilate. I always check that before surgery because I want to know, because I need a nice big dilated pupil. If the pupil doesn't dilate well enough, I'm going to use what's called a Malugin ring to manually open up the pupil so I can get access to the underlying lens. Reminder of your anatomy, the lens sits right behind your iris. When you're looking at someone's pupil, you're looking through their lens to the back of their eye. That's where it sits, right there in the middle of the eye. So I'm like, okay, I got a dense lens in a patient that's had a vitrectomy and their pupil doesn't dilate. The challenges keep adding up because it just adds one more thing you got to do during a cataract surgery. So it's possible that the pupil didn't dilate because of diabetes. It's also possible the pupil didn't dilate because the zonules are loose in the eye. So we see that as well. And I'm not going to bore you with the details, but that's just a small pupil can be a sign that the zonules, which again, the zonular apparatus, these are the strings that hold a lens in place inside the eye. You want real nice, strong zonules so you can do a safe surgery. So surgery day comes. I'm a bit nervous about this one. I get in there. I make my incisions. I open up the pupil with my Malugin ring device. I have to stain the anterior capsule. So that means putting a little bit of blue dye on the capsule because the cataract's so dense. In order to see it, usually you have to have retroillumination. You have to shine light from their microscope against the retina in the back of the eye, and then the light bounces back up and you can visualize the lens. But if the lens is too dense, you can't get that retroillumination. So I have no red reflex. So I have to stain the pupil with this, what's called trypan blue. It's this dye you put on the surface of the eye. It lets you see the lens, see the front of the lens. And so I make my little opening. Again, the cataract, it's like a peanut M&M. So I'm removing the candy shell on the top so that I can get access to the peanut inside and the chocolate, because that's the stuff I have to remove. And the problem is, as soon as I started removing that peanut, which was a very dense peanut, the whole lens started moving with me. And that told me right there that the reason that that pupil was so small is because this patient did not have good zonules. So it's kind of a worst case scenario here, because I got a dense lens, a very dense lens, in a patient that didn't have a big pupil, and also the zonules were very bad. And so I worked my tail off. I used some extra devices. I tried to use capsule retractors to kind of hold that capsule in place. It's just another device you can use during surgery. And somehow I ended up getting the lens out of the eye. Unfortunately, I took the capsule with it. So normally you leave the capsule in place, and that's what you put your artificial lens into. So going back to the peanut M&M, I'm removing the chocolate, I'm removing the peanut, I'm leaving the candy shell in place. That's where the new lens is going to go into. But in this case, during the course of the surgery, I took out the candy shell as well. You're not supposed to do that. That's not good. And I had a feeling that was going to happen just because of how loose that lens was just flapping in the breeze. I was afraid that I was going to drop the lens into the back of the eye, which is something you don't want. But by the grace of God, I don't know how it happened, I ended up getting all of the lens out of the eye. And I was so thankful for that. Unfortunately, because I took that candy shell out, the capsule of the lens, I couldn't get a new lens in the eye. 20 years ago, if this had happened during a surgery, I would have put what's called an anterior chamber lens in. And we still have them. They're just not put in anymore. They just sit right in the front in the anterior chamber of the eye. They go right in front of the iris. I know I'm throwing out a lot of terminology to you guys, so I'm trying to explain it as well as I can as we go. And so, but now what we have techniques that allow us to suture a lens in place behind the iris. Because if you put a lens in front of the iris, it can cause other problems down the road, decompensation of your cornea, high pressure in the eye. But now we can suture a lens behind the iris, which is a much better place for an artificial lens. So I finished my surgery, took out all of the lens, even the parts that I should have left that I wanted to leave, but I ended up taking out, and closed up the incisions, put a little suture in the incision to make it nice and tight. And then I had a conversation with my retina specialist colleague. Set this patient up with actually the same retina doctor who sent this patient to me for cataract surgery, who was doing a lot of the retina work related to the diabetic retinopathy. And he is planning to do a secondary lens in the eye. And the patient will end up doing, I think, just fine. It's just going to be a second surgery, a longer recovery. And the reason I wanted to go through all of that was to, remind people that if a surgery doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be. It's not a reason to think you're not a good surgeon or that you're not good at taking care of patients. I did everything I could, and surgeons do everything they can to do safe surgery. Sometimes the deck's stacked against you. Sometimes you make a mistake, and you do your best to deal with the consequences and do as safe a surgery as you can for that patient. But what I did for this patient is I saw her the next day. I saw her a few days after that, walked her through what's going to happen next. And that's been key. And she's been fine. She's been great. And it's the communication piece, just telling her exactly, what happened and what the next steps were. Like communicating when you have something that doesn't go quite right, whether it's a surgical complication or a medical complication. It's the communication that's the number one thing. The number one thing. Like be honest and be dedicated to that patient's care going forward. It's not easy to see those patients back because it's a reminder of that you screwed up. But it's so important, like to be there for those patients and to do what you can to make it right, and to for me help their vision, their health, whatever it is. So anyway, that was a tough one and didn't feel great. I was frustrated in myself, but the patient's okay. I'm okay. The situation will be okay. The vision will be okay eventually. Let's take a break. All right, finally, let's get to some YouTube comments. How about that? So I post all of these Knock Knock I episodes on our YouTube channel at Glockenfleckens. And I love reading these. I love reading the comments. So please let me know if you have any topics you want me to cover, if you have any criticisms, concerns, celebrations. Did you do something? Are you like a resident and you had a breakthrough? You did something for the first time as a med student? You shout it out in the comments section on the YouTube channel. Or email us knockknockhi@human-content.com. I'd love to give you a shout out. I think we need a little bit more positivity. Things have been dark in the healthcare space lately. Right? I mean, it's been dark. It's been dark for a long time, but I feel like it's been particularly dark. Let's get some positivity going. All right. Here's one at EEE716 said, I have zero regrets having cataract surgery. I went for multifocal lenses and am glasses free for the first time in my life. That's great. I'm so happy. And I'm happy to hear that. I don't want people to hear the story I just told about my difficult cataract surgery and think cataract surgery is scary. It's not. Like it's, again, that case I told you about, that's like the 1 in 1,000 type kind of case. You don't see that very often. Most of them, the vast majority, go just like at EEE716 here. They love it. The lenses that we have now are great. You see great. All right. At Anna Davis 2547 said, my family was injured at a professional fireworks display. They are dangerous. Couldn't agree more. At Letter Lady Z, here's a couple of ideas spelled EYEDEAS. I appreciate that for you to talk about. All right. These are two quick ones we'll do. Allergy eye drops. Yes, I think I've touched on this before. Here are the allergy eye drops. Zatador and Patanol. That's it. Those are the best we have. They're both over the counter. Patanol used to be by prescription. Now it's over the counter. Patanol, Pataday, or Patanol. Either one. Zatador. They both work great. Sting a little bit for a second, but they're effective for legit allergies. You have itchy eyes, like the pollen's in the air and your eyes are blowing up. Get you some Patanol. Works great. Let's see. And the other one, and then at Letter Lady Z also said, here's another topic, ophthalmologists versus optometrists. I've addressed this before, but I'll go ahead and tell you again. So ophthalmologists and optometrists, people think there's blood feud between us, like cardiologists and nephrologists, but that couldn't be like further from the truth. Like we work well together. Our company, like we employ optometrists. Like we work together. We're very complementary in what we do. So the biggest difference in education. So ophthalmologists went to medical school. Optometrists went to optometry school. So like ophthalmologists, I did college, and then med school, and then residency. 4 years of residency. And then optometrists, they go to college and then straight to optometry school. And then sometimes they can do like another 1 year, I think they call them residencies, so like 1 year additional training in like advanced contact lenses or pathology, or, there's different things they can do from there. And generally out in practice, the vast majority of optometrists do mostly contact lenses and glasses, and then see patients with some pathology, like patients who have flashes and floaters. They'll take a look at them. They can diagnose lots of things, lots of pathology. If anything needs to be done surgically or complex medical problems, they'll send patients over to an ophthalmologist. So that's how we work well together. And that's how we work with optometrists in our practice. So because, we have more of the medical training, surgical training, any more complex things, if you have medical diseases of the eye that need like management of different, typically you're going to want to see an ophthalmologist. Optometrists can do some of that, but once it gets pretty complicated or surgical intervention is necessary, they whisk you off to an ophthalmologist. But I have some wonderful optometry friends that work well together. All right. A lot of other good topics. I'm going to save it because I don't want to go too long here. So I think I'll call it good. Oh, I like this one. Last comment. At Julia Benford 6500, you have put the fear of God in me about bungee cords. I think in the last episode I talked about some of the terrible injuries I've seen from bungee cords. So yes, I'm all for, you can find an alternative. You don't need to use bungee cords unless you're literally bungee jumping. Then you probably should use a bungee cord. But the smaller ones that you tie things down, just use like ropes, just something else. And this person said, I'm already switched to daily contacts because of what you've said. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for bearing with me during this episode. I just realized this episode is a little bit more serious than we usually do. So I appreciate you bearing with me. It was helpful for me personally. This one was for me, everyone, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to my executive producers, Aaron Courtney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brook. Editor and engineers, Jason Producer. Our music is by Omer Ben-Zvi. To reach out to let give me topics, at Glock and Fleckens YouTube channel. Please go subscribe. I always tell people you can subscribe. That's okay. I'd appreciate that. Leave a comment. Email us knockknockhi@human-content.com, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Knock Knock I is a human content production.
Goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts, or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below, let us know what you think.